Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
You know, let's bring up Doc. I've never heard this, Doc, in baseball, where the sons end up being on the coaching staff. I think football is one of the only sports that I know of that has, you know, the sons. Can you imagine if Aaron Boone can you imagine if Aaron Boone had a son, or maybe he does, and he's like the bench coach? I mean, I don't know how that would fly.
It's definitely unique. I believe a long time ago, Connie Mack's son was with the Philadelphia A's at the time. I believe that's true. Of course, Aaron Boone's dad was a manager,
right?
So it runs in the family, if nothing else.
Yeah, we don't need more Boones with input on the Yankees. Right?
Well, no, not at all.
Maybe Daniel Boone would have been a good addition.
Daniel Boone would be doing a better job in the dugout right now than Aaron Boone.
I don't disagree.
If nothing else, we could track better. So, there is a player, before we get to Doc and his books and all that stuff, like a little bit of Yankee news here. They're looking to link to an all-star catcher, the Royal Salvador Perez. They're thinking about maybe going after him. I don't know if I've never watched him play or not. The biggest problem they say in New York is that to handle New York. Jack was on there. He's so tired of hearing of this, about Hicks and about all these other players that Sonny Gray couldn't handle New York. So that's why they went on and played better. He feels that maybe if they just left him alone, that maybe, they would turn it around a little bit. And you can't deny Hicks is doing really good in Baltimore, guys. So what do you think about that?
Go ahead, Doc. I've spoke a lot on this show. Go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Keith. Listen. I have an article coming up on Start Spreading the News at noon today. And I've been saying this for weeks, if not longer, that it's time for the Yankees to sell. And so I'm going to get to your answer in a roundabout way. There is this belief, like I think the Yankees ought to sell Giancarlo Stanton, trade him. They should trade everything that they possibly can. It's time to retool and reload for next year. But every time I mention that the Yankees can trade Giancarlo Stanton, somebody comes back and they go, he's got a no trade clause.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Prim and Proper Sports. I'm your host, Sonia Pearson, and that clip was, of course, in honor of our great producer, John McGrath. We've been playing segments all week. And so tonight's segment was chosen for one of my friends here that I've met through National Streaming Sports. Let me reintroduce to some and introduce for the first time my friend, Dr. Paul Semendinger. Good evening, Dr. Paul. How are you today?
Sonia, I am great, and it's always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, what did you think about my clip?
I love that clip. I don't know where I was going with that. I assumed the Yankees were in a big slump, and it was time for me to throw in the towel and see that the Yankees could clear some salary, I guess is what I was going to go for there, so that they could sign some big free agents and move forward. That it looks like Keith and I were also very disgusted with the Yankee manager, Aaron Boone, who I've never been the biggest fan of as a manager. So, yeah, fun stuff. I absolutely loved working with Mac. I don't even know how many years we did it. It had to be 5, 6, 8 years that we worked together. I started off by going on his Saturday show with Mac and Jack. Originally, it was just, can you come on for 10 minutes? That became a half an hour. That became an hour. Then it became the 2-hour show. Can you come every Saturday? And I did that for years. At one point, Mac was sick. I produced the Saturday show with Mac and Jack. Then he said, can you do your own show? So we started Spreading the News on Monday nights at 9. Then he said, can you do another show? And that became the Dr. Sem show on Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. And, I had a pleasure twice of meeting Mac in person. Like you and I have never met because we do so much of our talking long distance. But I met Mac and Linda. We went to a football game together with Jack. And I went to Mac's house in Connecticut at one point after my Roy White book was published. Mac helped set up that whole thing. If it weren't for Mac, I would have never had an opportunity to meet Roy White or do the book with Roy White. So I brought Mac an autographed copy that Roy had signed and that I had signed. And I spent, an hour or two in his apartment with him and Linda. And just great to spend time with both of them. And obviously Mac passed about a week and a half ago, and we're all very sad. There's an empty spot in all our hearts for Mac. And, all of our love and condolences go to Linda. And we just, hope that the memories of Mac carry everybody forward, but especially Linda as she deals with the sadness of losing her husband.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what it is. We actually have your picture from that game with Linda. And actually, I think it was Jack was in there with you in that picture with Mac. And so I'll try to pull that out. Everything is so technology driven these days. But let me tell everybody, of course, he plugged in some of his stuff. But Dr. Paul is a 35-year educator, you all, retiring as a vice principal of one of the greatest middle schools, he says, on the earth, in the world in 2022. He, of course, has a Dr. Sem Saturday show. It's the Yankee show. You see him wearing his Yankee gear today. He also guest features on the Bronx Beat podcast, another New York sports channel. He does the Mac and Jack show with us occasionally. And he has the Start Spreading the News show that he still does as well. That's all about New York baseball. He is a Jets fan, just to support the home team there. He's also a runner. He's completed 27 marathons. And a renowned author, children's book author, all of that good stuff that Dr. Paul has done. And you guys can find all about him just by looking him up, Dr. Paul Semendinger. He's on there. He has his website, drpaulsem.com as well. You can look at Start Spreading the News .blog. He has a blog he still does. And just a very well-rounded and great guy. So Dr. Paul, once again, it's always great to have you on my platform. Now we know the schedules dropped today, but that is not the most exciting news. We're going to talk about that towards the end, guys. But we will definitely want to give a shout out to Elite Sports Network and Entertainment, the Huddle Sports Network, and of course, National Streaming Sports, all those affiliates sponsoring me on this evening to be able to allow me this platform. Thank you so much, gentlemen who run those platforms as well. And hello to all of you all coming in. Feel free to say hello and greet Dr. Paul and myself. Breaking news, but not really breaking news, but it is for MLB. Commissioner rescinding some of these eligibility rules for the Hall of Fame award. And of course, Pete Rose just passing away last year. Name was at the top of these 17 players, Dr. Paul, who were affected by this lifetime ban to be able to get into the Hall of Fame. Of course, now this group, this elite commissioner group, is going to be meeting in 2027, where this all will come up again. And so for now, this is a hot topic because for so long, so many people have expressed the records that Pete Rose had, got caught up in his gambling and really no issue with it, no sense of remorse, what have you. But now, his name is coming up again, that he may in fact be still, in the Hall of Fame. Do you think this is a sure win, or is there still going to be some quorums there?
All right. So, Commissioner Manfred yesterday took the permanently ineligible list. Pete Rose and Joe Jackson were the two most prominent names on that list, both for gambling. And he said, you're not permanently ineligible through death. If you're permanently ineligible, that ends when you die. And so since Pete Rose and Joe Jackson are no longer permanently ineligible, in theory, they can come up for a Hall of Fame vote. And the next time the era that Pete Rose played in would have a Hall of Fame vote will be 2027. And so, there's the Jets schedule.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. And so the question will be, does Pete Rose go in the Hall of Fame? And there's very strong feelings from people on both sides of the issue. On one, Pete Rose is the all-time hits king. No one else has more hits than Pete Rose. He won multiple world championships. He was a big part of the Big Red Machine. He helped the Phillies win their world championship in 1980. He was the player, or one of the few players, that defined basically an entire generation of baseball. But he wasn't a great guy. He did a lot of bad things. He went to jail. He gambled on baseball. He broke baseball's #1 cardinal rule. He bet on baseball when he was a manager. It's
some of his own
I
games.
believe he also bet when he was a player. So, baseball has a hang up, and I don't know how to rectify that hang up. I don't know how to fix that hang up, but there is a morals clause as one of the stipulations for being in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And there are players in there that have fallen short. There are owners in there who have fallen short. Pete Rose falls short, but then you get into the argument of, if you put a bad guy in, or a guy who did wrong things, does that mean you have to let the next wrong guy do, or can you hold a standard at some point? So it's going to be a big debate. It's not going to go away. If they kept him permanently ineligible, the debate would be, should you make him eligible? Now that he's eligible, the debate will be, when his name comes up in 2027, I think it's in December that they'll vote. So we have about a year and a half before that's even going to happen, if he's even put forward in that committee. But then the question will be, does his body of work as a player overshadow other big mistakes he made, including gambling on baseball? And does that mean he can go in the Hall of Fame? And is the Hall of Fame a place where we recognize the greatest players, regardless of other things? Or is it a place that we recognize the greatest players who also meet a standard of character, a character standard?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting you say that, because that's the toss-up, Dr. Paul, is the moral compass versus the stats, the greatness that we saw on the field. And I always talk about professionalism versus personal. And sometimes the lines get blurred. I mean, we see this in we all are humans. Let's be clear. We see this in so many different aspects, where as soon as there is a mistake made by a player off field, it's brought to light. It's what you do. It's who you are. You're getting paid millions of dollars. You're going to be in the front of the limelight. So you have to be extra cautious, as opposed to, say, me, that is not in the limelight, and something that I may or may not do may go, under the rug. It may not be as pronounced. But you brought out a good point. He was not only a player, he was also a manager, and this behavior continued. And the Rule 21 was what he violated in overall. The commissioner explained that the rationale behind his decision, he made this clear in a letter to Jeffrey Linkove, the attorney for Mr. Rose, when this all happened, and basically said it's permanent ineligibility. It's to protect the integrity of the game from individuals who pose a risk to it. Once an individual has passed away, they no longer present a threat to the integrity of the game. I mean, that is so morbid, Dr. Paul. That's almost akin to, and I literally do this all the time, because everyone knows I have like a law mind. So I always kind of attribute certain things that I see handed down in disciplinary form in sports to the law, the actual law it is. It's kind of like when persons actually commit certain offenses and they're found guilty, they have like a lifetime restriction on them from doing certain activities or being around certain people because of that one act or that series of acts that led them into that situation. And that was just so graphic to know that, okay, you commissioner thought that Pete Rose, when he was alive, was such a detriment to the game that you had to have him literally lifeless before he could be considered ineligible to go into the Hall of Fame.
Correct. And I don't think this is a debate that anyone will, no matter what they decide, there is going to be half the population very angry. There are big time Pete Rose supporters who feel he belongs in the Hall of Fame. He was a great player. And nobody has more hits than Pete Rose. Yep. He has the longest hitting streak since Joe DiMaggio hit 56 straight games in 1941. Rose hit in 44 games consecutively. I believe it was 1978. He was an all-star virtually every year. He was a huge player. And people will say the statistics, the body of work as a player is enough to put him in the Hall of Fame. Other people will say he broke baseball's biggest rule. He gambled on the game. Every single time he went into a clubhouse, he saw a sign that said no gambling. And then he did it anyway. He thought that he was bigger than the game. He thought he would get away with it. And when he got caught, he lied for a decade or so. Maybe 20 years he lied about it. No. Until he finally came clean and said, I've been lying for 20 years. And a lot of people will say that's enough to disqualify him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I was going to say, let's be clear. He came clean in a private meeting and then put the rest of it in a book. So he never really, he didn't hold a press conference considering he's the greatest player, one of probably the greatest player, I mean, I associate his name up there with Hank Aaron, and DiMaggio, like we spoke about. Pete Rose, 4,256 hits leader, all-time hits leaders. Nobody's touching that. And like you said, though, that's the best way to describe it. It's going to be split down the middle when this comes up. There is the Chicago White Sox gentlemen, the aka the Black Sox from 1919. And those guys been gone a long time. That's over 100 years ago. And their names are going to come up now because they were removed for fixing the World Series. Eddie Ciate, Claude, Lefty Williams, Chick Gandil, Charles Swede, Risberg, Buck Weaver, Shoeless Joe Jackson that we spoke about, Happy Felsch, Fred McMullen. And then you look at other ones like their connection to it. Joe Gedeon, banned for his connection to them, like not even necessarily the people doing it. Gene Paulette for involvement in a gambling scheme. And then Benny Call suspended indefinitely about an auto theft. So that's separate. But then you look at, they said that Joe Jackson actually was found innocent later on. He was just basically maybe on the side drinking some lemonade when this was all going down. And he got caught up in that. But the former commissioner, Mountain Landis, was known to be strict as a ruler. I mean, just straight. He had strict disciplinary actions aimed at making sure that the integrity stayed intact. And I'm going to say, because my dad played baseball, he played in a much lower league, but played all over the state of North Carolina. I know he probably would think that Pete should not get in. And let's be clear, at the end of the day, Pete is gone. He's not going to get any of the enjoyment and the recognition that he would have gotten. And it came up on a show I was on earlier. Put his name in there and put the asterisk by it. Like, but for he would have been, that kind of thing.
Sure. And that will appease some people. I have to be honest. I don't really have a strong feeling either way. If they put him in, I get it. No one's going to say, I want to be like Pete Rose. If people go in the Hall of Fame and they study the people in the Hall of Fame, if you study Pete Rose, the first thing you're going to know is that he was kicked out of the game. He was made permanently ineligible. He was only made eligible again after he died. Why? You're going to ask the question. You're going to look it up. And part of Pete Rose's legacy is going to be all the bad things he did. Other sports, I don't think, have a character clause when it comes to their halls of fame. They
Yeah,
just
NFL surely
induct
doesn't.
the greatest players.
Mhm.
Shoeless Joe Jackson claimed he wasn't part of the fix. He did well in that World Series, but he did take the money. And so he was definitely accomplice. He didn't know it was happening. He didn't turn the other people over. And he was a great hitter. He was such a great hitter, believe it or not, that Babe Ruth modeled his own swing after Joe Jackson. That's
Wow.
what a great
I did
hitter
not
he
know
was.
that.
But again, he was involved in a huge gambling scheme that really hurt the integrity of baseball. I think the other thing that makes the whole situation with Pete Rose just a little bit more murky and less clear to everyone is today, baseball, all the major sports, but baseball has a close connection to a host of gambling sites. You watch a
Yes.
baseball game and they put up gambling odds.
Yep.
Baseball has gotten into bed with gambling. The
Yes.
owners, the league has decided that the money that gambling offers is too good to pass up, and it's some discongruous in a way that you can have a hard stance on guys who gambled while you're encouraging everyone who goes to the game to gamble.
Mhm.
Like, if you're going to say gambling is bad, and I believe it is, and I believe it's going to hurt the game and ruin the game, ruin all the sports. There's going to be a scandal that's going to ruin each of the sports individually because the money's just too big. And when the sport itself promotes it, then you're just asking for trouble, and it's going to hurt the game in a very direct way. One of these days, somebody's going to get caught up in a big scandal. They're going to find out that certain games weren't legit, and so that's why Mountain Landis, all those years ago in the 1920s, just said, no, anybody involved in the Black Sox scandal, they're out forever. And he drew that hard line. And then Pete Rose crossed it. So, yeah, it's going to be something we're going to be talking about. If he gets on the list for 2027, people will be outraged. If he gets in, people will be outraged. If he doesn't get on the list, people will be outraged. If he gets on the list and doesn't get in, people will be outraged. The question is never going away. So whether or not Pete Rose is in the Hall of Fame, people are going to talk about Pete Rose and the Hall of Fame endlessly for just like they're still talking about Joe Jackson over 100 years later.
Yeah, you're never gonna be able to please people. That's what my grandmother used to say. Somebody's gonna want it to rain, somebody's gonna want the sun out. It's never gonna be 100% pleasing. I mean, Dr. Paul, you are an educator. You still are an adjunct professor for a couple of schools as well. I mean, I'm sure that once you're an educator, you're just an educator for life. It's in who you are. A lot of these states that have these gambling sites up, they'll say that a lot of it benefits the education that the states receive, certain funding, what have you. I never really put those two together. And I don't really think it's the best example of saying that it's okay to gamble, honestly.
No, I that's just a justification. They make statements like that for all sorts of things. This money can go to that, or it might go to that. I don't know enough about how any state allocates their gambling funds or their lottery funds or anything like that. I can only say that when you're talking so much about bets that have to do with whether a guy throws a strike or not, or whether a guy hits a foul ball or not, or whether in the Super Bowl it's heads or tails, or how long the national anthem goes. And there's millions of dollars being bet on these things. Yeah. There are going to be less than scrupulous people who are going to go, wow, I could be set for life if I sing the national anthem and hold the note for an extra 3 seconds. Like, and that doesn't affect the game. But if I swing through a fastball on 3-0 in the third inning of a game we're losing 10-0, that doesn't really matter. I can make a lot of money. Or if I'm an umpire, if I call that close pitch a ball, I could make a lot of money. There's so many ways that somebody could be influenced. And once that happens, it's going to be hard then to believe anything you're seeing. And the reason we watch sports, I believe, is because we're seeing athletes do things that we cannot do. oftentimes that we wish we could do. And we delight in the idea that they're playing these sports at the highest levels and it's legitimate. If we think it's fake, there's no reason to watch.
Right. Right. They have prop bets on everything. You made a good point. Like even with, Taylor Swift being at the Super Bowl, how many times she's going to be shown. It takes the fun away, Dr. Paul, when
I agree.
You're so busy talking about the over under and this. Like I never really even understood it. We actually did some of those just for fun on the network. And I always had to have somebody explain it to me, the point spread for the game. I'm like, can I not just pick the winner or the loser, the person I think is going to win? Because even if you think they're going to win, the way it works is if you don't pick the correct point spread, you still lose. And I was like, that is the craziest thing I have ever heard. But Shohei Ohtani, we're speaking about baseball. He was able to avoid this type of scandal by, I want to say his interpreter assumed the responsibility. I just for sake of that, I still feel like in my mind, you come from another country to this country, you have to know at least a little bit of what's going on around you, the English language and all of that, to know whether or not something is not going the way it should go. And of course, his excuse was, well, in Japan, we do these types of things. They're not forbidden over there. Over here, as a player, you cannot, participate in these. So his interpreter is going to jail or is in jail at this point because of this.
Right. Listen, you have to know the rules of the country. If you're going to get $700 million to play baseball, you got to know what the rules are. I didn't follow that all that closely. Whatever it was, they said the interpreter was doing it, but the interpreter had access to Ohtani's own money. So
yes,
it seems like Ohtani's money was being part of it. And
right.
Look, if that had shaken out just a little bit differently, baseball would have lost one of its two biggest stars. I think the two biggest stars in the game are Ohtani and Aaron Judge.
Yes.
And that would have rocked the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm so against gambling in sports that on Start Spreading the News, I've been offered a gazillion times from various gambling sites to put up ads on my site or to put up gambling odds or to put up articles that have to do with gambling. We will pay you. We will give you money. I get requests like this all the time. And I've never said yes, and I won't say yes, because I'm not going to be part of that hypocrisy where I say gambling is bad, but I'm taking gambling money. I think gambling's bad. I think it's terrible for the sport. I think it's going to lead to every sport being brought into question. Here, this is Sports Network. I'm not putting you on the spot. But who's the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing?
Right.
Yeah. I love boxing. I used to love boxing. I don't know. But there's been so many times I talk about fights being fixed that people don't necessarily trust the sport. Nobody trusts.
We don't follow it anymore. You used to be like, oh, it's Joe Frazier or Muhammad Ali. Like we used to know. You just don't know anymore.
Its integrity. It's nobody cares, and that's going to happen.
Lord Mayweather, like you just don't know because, like you said, the integrity. So, all right, this is where we're going to pause and play my little commercial here for the Huddle Sports Network. And Dr. Paul, when we come back, we're going to talk about your Yankees, the news with that. And of course, we will then wrap up with just a tidbit about your schedule and see what you're thinking about after we go through your schedule a little bit. And other than that, we want everybody to grab your favorite drink and snack because Dr. Paul and I will be right back.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
All right, Dr. Paul and I are back. Of course, shout out to the Huddle Sports Network. Thank you guys so much for letting me get on your platform. This is Dr. Paul Semendinger, and we are getting ready to go into our next segment of the show where we talk about his beloved New York Yankees. Dr. Paul, sit back a little bit so everybody can see your jersey you're wearing. We can see your Yankees logo. There it is, guys. Yankees in the Bronx. Of course, Dr. Paul here. Right now, the Yankees are actually playing. Well, they won over the Mariners 3-2. Very slow game when you see it, low scoring, very defensive game. What's going on with your Yankees here? I mean, we got Crawford's walk-off, lifts the Mariners past the Yankees in that second 2-1 in the 11 innings. They were talking about that a couple of days ago or a day ago. And then, of course, Mariners star Julio Rodriguez robbed Trent Grisham of a home run and a spectacular catch. That was today's game. But then let's talk about Juan Soto, because he definitely knows how to await what's for him in the Subway Series that the Yankees are taking part of right now.
That's a lot of things. So the Yankees just completed a 9-game road trip on the West Coast. They played the Padres, they played the A's, and then they played the Mariners. They went 6-3. They won 2 out of 3 in each of the series. And you can't really do better than that, especially when you're an East Coast team going to the West Coast. Before that, the Yankees were a little bit lethargic, but they have one of, if not the best record in the American League. If not, they're right there with the Tigers and the Guardians. The Yankees have some weaknesses. They've had some big injuries, like Garrett Cole, the race starting pitcher. He's out for the year. Luis Gil, who won the Rookie of the Year last year, he's been out all year. But Max Fried, who they signed, has been terrific. And Aaron Judge, from the Braves. Aaron Judge is having one of the greatest seasons of all time. And it was a 2-2 game today until the 8th inning, and Judge launched yet another home run. He's hitting well over 400. Yeah, it's crazy. And, when we watch Aaron Judge right now, we're watching greatness. He's breaking baseball. That's how great he is right now. And it's fun and it's wonderful. And the Yankees are looking very, very good right now. So it's very exciting to watch them win. When they don't win, I get down on them because I think they should always be better than they are. But right now they're doing great. So I don't have anything negative to say right now. That catch Rodriguez made in the first inning off Trent Grisham, he went over the wall and robbed them of a homer. Would have been 1-0 Yankees to start. But if that had happened, maybe Aaron Judge doesn't hit the big hit, the big homer late in the game. And it's nice when Aaron Judge gets all the accolades. So
let's not forget Paul Goldschmidt came off the bench to get that tied up game. I mean, 377 was the distance that he made. I mean, what a hit. Just explosive play today. And like I said, when it's low scoring like that, that's a good defensive matchup. Tell us about the most recent game you attended in person, Dr. Paul.
That's a great question, Sonia. The last time I went to a game, it was last spring. I haven't been to Yankee Stadium, I don't think, in over a year. But I had the chance to get unbelievable tickets in the moat. The Yankees have this section that's sort of cut off from everybody else, and it's called unkindly the moat because it's sort of like the big players get to sit in these really special seats with waitress service and free food. Cool. I was able to sit there down right by the field, maybe 3 rows from the field, and it was awesome. I don't get to as many games as I should or I'd like to. I'm very busy. I'm writing books, as you know, adjunct professoring, always seem to call back into schools to help out with one thing or another. Have my family, have my grandkids, have the blog. There's so many. I'm so busy that it's sometimes hard to get to Yankee games. But so speaking of gambling, if you go to Yankee Stadium, there's ads all over the walls about Bet 365 and this one and that one. So, but it's a special thing when you get to go to a Yankee game.
It's so wild. I was actually in New York in 2021 and did not realize I was walking, Dr. Paul. Like, I decided I was going to get some steps in. You do not want to know how far I walked. Everybody that I tell the distance, they're like, girl, I didn't know that. Like, so I took the train. I was in Lower Manhattan. I took the train over to Bronx because I wanted to see where Big Pun was from and all that, their area. They have a mural of Big Pun on the wall. I have a picture. I think it's 187th Street and something. They basically said it's down by some fire department. You know, it's my first time going there. I walked from there all the way out to Yankee Stadium.
That's like 20 blocks and 25 blocks.
Yes, and that's real blocks. It's not just like it's yeah, everybody was like, girl, like I walked so far, Dr. Paul, I had to stop and buy another pair of shoes because the shoes I had on were just some casual sneakers. They weren't like really walking sneakers, and it was hot, and the soles were starting to like kind of warp as I was walking. I didn't know how far the walk was, but there was a game that day, and I actually got myself, and I should have worn it today. I got myself a Yankee shirt and my pup one. They're navy blue. We could have been twins because I'm a Braves fan. Because I'm from North Carolina. We didn't have a baseball team, and so I've always liked the Braves since I was probably in middle school. So now that I live in Atlanta, of course, I'm always a Bravos fan, as they say. But I'm always partial to the Yankees. I don't know what it is. I just always loved you guys. And, you know, now having Aaron Judd, I follow the news from time to time. You know, you guys were rumored to have these torpedo bats. You guys did this beat down on the Padres 21-0 a few weeks back that really got everybody talking about those torpedo bats. They're not illegal. For everybody that's wondering, like I've read up on it. I was like, what is this torpedo bat? It's about the handling. You know, Dr. Paul has anyone that's a non-Yankees fan, because I'm sure Yankees fans don't care. Has any non-Yankee fan questioned you about the legalities of these torpedo bats?
No, everybody knows they're legal. They're within the rules. It's just a different way that the bats are set up. People have been using different type bats forever. You know, heavier bats, skinnier bats, wider bats, thinner handles, where they cut out the ends of bats. I mean, I have a whole host of bats over here.
I didn't know this. I never knew you could do all this stuff.
In fact, every single player has a bat specially made to his specifications. The bats all have to be within the rules of baseball, but if you ever go to the Louisville Slugger Museum in Louisville, Kentucky, they will show you how each different player would actually design his own bat to meet what he feels would be best for him. And I still play baseball, and the different players on my team and different players around the league, they all have different ideas of what they want in a bat. That's part of what it is. Just like people have different size gloves, they have different types of bats.
Wow. And you know, what's funny, I did a road trip years ago and I passed by that museum. It wasn't open when I was driving by. I was with a group of other people. But it's so funny you said that, because that's got to be a warranted trip now, because that holds such historical value. And if they're telling about all that, I need to definitely be in the know. Now, I want to talk about a little bit of news regarding you guys. I mean, the Yankees definitely up there. However, Oswaldo Cabrera, ankle injury during the last game here. How big of a difference maker is he going to be for being out while he recuperates here? He's actually fractured this ankle, so he's going to be on IL.
Yeah, he'll be out for a long time. The word on the street, the way everyone's reacting to the news, is they're reacting to Oswaldo Cabrera being a decent human being, a great person, a great teammate, a guy who will do anything to win, a guy who's always smiling, a person who cares about his team and his teammates, a terrific human being. And it's always sad when something unfortunate, like a terrible injury that's going to keep him out for a long, long time, happens or occurs. As a baseball player, and you were talking about, it's morbid to talk about, like, you're out of the game until you're dead, right? Like, there's a
that was
morbidity
so.
to that.
I was like, what?
Yes, it's sort of the same thing here. It's like, it's not nice to speak ill of people when they're in an unfortunate situation. But as a baseball player, as a hitter, Cabrera hasn't been all that great. He doesn't really hit well against left-handed pitching. People have talked about maybe he shouldn't even switch hit anymore or try to switch hit.
Oh, wow.
He's been a good major league player, but his impact as far as the Yankees winning games and losing games, I don't think will be tremendous because it's not like they lost Aaron Judge. They lost a guy who's, a good fill-in ball player who has been playing third base this year, but nobody ever anticipated him to be the everyday third baseman. They anticipated that Oswaldo Cabrera would be a guy who plays a little here and a little there and do it willingly and happily and contribute as best he can. But he's not a superstar. He's a role player. He's a great person, a great teammate, but he's a role player as far as wins and losses go.
Yeah, that's and like you said, I like how you brought that out. Like, okay, this is who he is, in the bigger scheme of things. Like he maybe missed, it's kind of like the comma in a sentence. There's always something after the comma. Like, yes, he will be missed, but we have Aaron Judge. Like, we're not that concerned. He's not the period of the team. Speaking of, you guys have reactivated, and I hope I pronounced his last name correctly, DJ LeMahieu.
Yep,
LeMahieu, yes, off of IR. Similar situation. He wasn't in the starting lineup for yesterday.
He played today, got his first hit today.
Very good, very good. 36 years old, was on IL since last season after having multiple injuries. Strained left calf, just 2 games into the spring training. Played only 67 games last season while having a bone bruise in his right foot, fractured right foot, and then a right hip impingement. Wasn't even that productive when he was on the field, Dr. Paul. And he literally had multiple injuries in several quadrants of his body. I'm surprised he was able to just stand upright on the field like that.
DJ LeMahieu was a great hitter. The last time he was a great hitter was probably 2020. He's a terrific defender. He's well-liked also on the team. I think he's a good guy. I don't know if he's a good baseball player anymore. We're going to find out. He's going to fill in because Oswaldo Cabrera is injured. One of the realities of sports is sometimes when one guy gets hurt, it gives somebody else an opportunity. Jazz Chisholm, the second baseman, is hurt. He's going to be out a while. Now Oswaldo Cabrera is hurt. He's going to be out for a long time. And so now DJ LeMahieu has probably his last chance to prove that he can hit as a major leaguer and stay healthy as a major leaguer, which is something he hasn't really done for the last number of years.
Yes, the Kleenex mentality. It's like if you pull one out, there's always somebody right there ready to take your place. So can't afford to go down with an injury. And not only that, when you come back, there's a human aspect that you might not be ever 100%. You will never be restored, even with surgery. And I know this, Dr. Paul, just from having my own shoulder surgery. They even tell you, I can get you to about 95%. You don't think, okay, that 5% is going to be significant until it's years later and you're feeling pain every time it gets cold outside. That's your 5%. And you can't lift your arm. And you're like, well, I thought you were going to get me to 95%. You did. 95 is still not 100. It's close, but 100 is 100. 99 is not 100. There's no difference in these two comparisons. Now on Friday, you guys get the Battle of New York, as I like to call it. You guys will be facing the Mets at 7:05. I mean, I know that game has got to be well attended with basically all of New York.
It'll be a sellout. Yes.
Yeah,
and of course, you brought up Juan Soto. Yes. I am going to be one of the very few Yankee fans that will say this. I do not hate Juan Soto. I like Juan Soto. I'm glad he was a great Yankee last year. I wish the Yankees kept him. They didn't. I do not begrudge him for going to the Mets. People say he should have been loyal to the Yankees. To that, I say, why? Why should he be loyal to the Yankees? He was a Washington National. They traded him. He was a San Diego Padre. They traded him. So now then he becomes a Yankee. What is it about the Yankees that he needs to be loyal to? And Yankee fans, listen, I love the Yankees. I talk about the Yankees every day. I run a Yankees website.
Yes.
I've been a Yankee fan longer than most people have been alive at this point. That being said, there's a hypocrisy when Yankee fans say he should be loyal, and then we go out and we sign a guy like Max Fried. Well, wait a minute. Shouldn't Max Fried have been loyal to the Braves?
Yes, we were devastated about that. Just like Freddie Freeman going to the Dodgers. I'm still not over neither one of those two.
Right, but like players aren't going to be loyal to teams, and the Yankees love to spend more money to bring other players to the Yankees.
Exactly.
So you can't cheer those guys and then boo Juan Soto because he left, because they did the exact same thing. And I also wonder, any of the people who are booing or are going to boo Juan Soto for leaving the Yankees in their own lives, would they have taken more money and fewer years, or would they have said no? And in their own lives, have they ever left a job for a better offer? And if they have, just on a smaller scale, aren't they doing the exact same thing that Juan Soto did? So why can you boo? Are you going to boo yourself? Did you take a new job? Did you get a promotion and go to a different company or whatever? If you ever did that, are you going to boo yourself in the mirror because you took a better opportunity or something you felt was a better opportunity? I don't think so. So why is Juan Soto held to a different standard? No, I like Juan Soto. I hope he does great for the Mets. Hope the Mets lose. I want the Yankees to win. But I hope Juan Soto's great. I wouldn't mind if he wins the MVP every year for the rest of his life and goes in the Hall of Fame. That'd be great. When he was a Yankee, he played great for the Yankees. And what more can you ask?
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Dr. Paul is a motivational speaker. He is also a religious speaker. So he's going to give you the good advice, the good voice of reason. I love that. I grew up in the church. For those that don't know, most of my audience does know that. So I'm taking notes over here, Dr. Paul. Like you're keeping it real, you're keeping it positive, and you're making folks be accountable in the process. Now, I want to talk about this formation of you guys. Is they actually call it the Mets Yankees rivalry. Not sure why they got the Mets name first. I'm going to say Yankees Mets rivalry. It goes way back. Brooklyn Dodgers, New York Giants, and the Yankees, 3 Major League Baseball teams of the New York City from 1903 to 1957, which I don't know if I told you this, Dr. Paul. My grandfather lived in Brooklyn, so he was there during some of that time. He literally lived off Flatbush, right across from Barclays Center, where the Nets play, of course. And so anyway, for most of that time, the Giants played in Manhattan, Dodgers in Brooklyn, Yankees in Bronx. And of course, Yankees still in Bronx. And I guess the Dodgers are still in Brooklyn. I don't know. I didn't see their stadium when I was there. But throughout their team, the 3 teams chronicled a fierce intra-city rivalry. Dodgers-Giants rivalry was formed by both teams' competition for dominance in the National League, exemplified by Bobby Thompson's shot heard round the world. I do remember that in the 1951 National League tiebreaker series. And of course, the Yankees, as the city's only American League team, would form the Giants-Yankees rivalry and Dodgers-Yankees rivalry around their multiple Subway Series competitions, where the 2 teams where the Yankees would compile a 10-3 record in the 13 All-New York World Series. I mean, that is absolutely big. And of course, so much background. You guys got to definitely read up on that. In 1958, the New York teams, the National League teams, actually moved to California, Giants to San Francisco to become the San Francisco Giants, and the Dodgers to LA to become the LA Dodgers, which is where they are now. Yankees were then becoming New York City's only Major League Baseball team until 58, when they expanded and the Mets joined the National League, and the Mets sought to create a fan base from fans that had departed from the earlier NL teams and adopted the Giants' New York insignia in the giant color of orange set against a cap of Dodger blue, colors that also adorn the New York City flag and coat of arms. Mets played their first 2 seasons in the Giants' old stadium, the Polo Grounds, before moving into Shea Stadium in the borough of Queens. So long history there. You know, New Yorkers, you guys stay literally culturally rich, and I love that. I mean, all the way back from baseball, America's favorite pastime, to the New York cheesecake, all of that. Like, there is a reason why. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but I do love New York. So I'm just so happy to have you on, Dr. Paul. All right. So, I mean, I know you're going to get back over to Yankee Stadium pretty soon. You know, once you slow down with some of the stuff you've got going. I know you're super busy. As we get ready to wrap up our last 10 minutes, Dr. Paul, it's always great having you on. We're going to talk about your schedule. Now, the schedule was just dropped out just a couple of hours ago. Let's make sure you can actually see this. I'll make it nice and big. So I know you are Yankees all day, every day, but I will just have you take a small look. We'll run through this and just get your guess on what you think the Jets finish out this season. I mean, they don't have Aaron Rodgers, a.k.a. the Queen. I'm sorry, I'm not a Rodgers fan. I think he really was detrimental to the Jets franchise. The morale was absolutely bad. I mean, I watched you guys on Hard Knocks before Rodgers came. Well, actually, as he was coming in, he wasn't there. You could just see the cameras were all surrounding him. I saw Sauce Gardner off to the side, who just everybody's numbers just plummeted under Aaron Rodgers' leadership. So you guys are going to be kicking off. I love how they did these. It's almost like you have to literally interpret what this is. On September 7th, you guys will be opening up, going to be playing on CBS at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the team that has actually been rumored to be interested in signing Aaron Rodgers. So it's possible, I mean, that he's still out there dangling. I don't see them going with Will Howard, who they got in the draft, and they've just ranked him as having not the best accuracy. So they're still in quest for their quarterback. Then, of course, you got the Bills, Tampa Bay, which is from the NFC South, Fins, Cowboys, Broncos. You got my team. I didn't even realize you guys are playing the Panthers on October 19th. Okay. That game we'll talk about. And you're going to be playing the Bengals on 10/26. November 9th, looks like that's the Browns, Patriots, Ravens, Falcons. It looks like you guys are playing the NFC South this year because, every year you have your own divisional players, and then you got that one other division you're playing. So you guys are playing the South because I see Falcons and Saints, and then wrapping up week 18, the Buffalo Bills. So you guys are playing them. That's your division. What are your thoughts on this schedule? Anything stand out to you, Dr. Paul?
I'm trying to look at that game with the Carolina Panthers on
Yes.
the 19th.
Yes.
No, it's at home. It's a game in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium. I was trying to decide if that was a home game or an away game, but you guys will be coming up here.
Oh yeah, I guess the green is you guys are home. Yeah, that makes sense. Green is home for you guys.
It's going to be fun opening week if they do play against Aaron Rodgers. That would be exciting. Just a quick look. I would bet everything. I don't bet. Obviously, we talked about that.
Yes.
Figuratively, I would bet everything on the Bills the second week. I think the Steelers are always very good. As a Yankee fan, I expect and want the Yankees to win all the time. As a Jets fan, and I'm only a partial Jets fan because it just hurts too much to really be all in as a Jets fan because all they do is lose.
Oh, I can identify. I know.
Lose, and they don't do it in a nice fashion. The Jets will make you believe they're going to win. They're going to do whatever they can to make you give up every last negative thought you have where you go, you know what? All right. I don't believe. All right. You got me believing. And then they will pull the rug out.
That's the worst type, Dr. Paul. That's the worst type when you're all in and they get your trust back. I've been there.
Yeah, and they do it all the time.
Yes, that's the worst.
They do it all the time. So I don't see them getting off to a great start. The Steelers will probably beat them. The Bills will probably beat them. Week 3 is against the what is it? Is that the Buccaneers?
Week 3 is the Bucs. Yes, Baker Mayfield and company coming up from the South, and that's in Tampa.
Yes, that could be trouble.
Yes, Baker Mayfield.
The Cowboys. I don't think the Jets ever beat the Cowboys in Week 5.
Oh, you guys have got to win that one. You guys have. If you don't win no other game, please beat those girls. They call themselves them boys. Please beat those girls. You guys got Justin Fields, Dr. Paul. I mean, he is fresh and ready to prove that he's a starting quarterback because guess what? In my opinion, if he does not make it with the Jets, he may be somebody's backup, and it may be a backup because he's already had an opportunity to be quarterback number 1 now for this is his third team.
It didn't work with the Bears, so he's there. This is his last chance.
Or the Steelers. So this is really interesting because he came from the Steelers, so he's facing his old team in his opener, and 3 times the charm, and he's only been in the league like 4 years. So he's been in almost as many teams as he has been in the league.
It's it's fun. Football's fun. when it comes to baseball, I just watch the Yankees. If you told me right now the greatest game in the world is on and it's the Brewers against the Cubs, I'd say, okay, not interested. I watch too many Yankee games to watch other teams play. With football, I root for other teams. Like, even though I'm a Jets fan, that third week when they play the Buccaneers, I like Baker Mayfield, and I like the story of Baker Mayfield. And there'll be part of me watching that game, especially if the Jets are already 0-2, where I'll say, hey, you know what? I wouldn't mind if Baker Mayfield wins and leads his team to another championship or whatever.
No, because they're in my division. I don't want him to win. This is the thing. So that's
I don't have that strong loyalty when it comes to football. In fact, if people say you can't be a Jets fan and a Giants fan, but if the Giants would ever be good again, if the Giants and the Jets are both good, I'm rooting for the Jets. But if they're not playing each other and the Giants get good, they'll get my interest. I'll say, hey, let's watch the Giants now.
That's because
I'll be happy.
That's because they're in two different divisions, AFC, NFC, and they're both from your city. They're both from New York. So for me, when people ask me why I can't root for Atlanta, because I lived in Atlanta, Dr. Paul, I've literally lived in Atlanta last year longer than I've lived in North Carolina. And I'm from North Carolina. I moved here when I was 26. I've been here 24 years this year. So I have been here longer because even though I moved here at 26, I lived in Virginia for 4 years. So I've been here longer, but I cannot root for the Falcons because they're in the same exact division we're in, NFC South. I will root for the Hawks. I will root for the Braves, even against the Hornets. Sometimes I'll kind of just be like, I'll go to Hawks games and I'll wear like a Hornets shirt or something and Hawks shoes or something. I'll mix it up. So I really don't care who wins. That's how I am when they play each other. But for the Falcons and the Panthers, as a matter of fact, the only reason why I've gotten into other teams is podcasting, because in 2016, when I started my YouTube, I was doing podcasting just about the Panthers. And then I was like, you know what? The Panthers are losing. This is the 4th season they're now losing. I got to find something else. So I started watching other teams we play just to see what what they were bringing to the table. And it became interesting. Like, I never rooted for them, but it just spread out to where you see me today, that I kind of have like a balanced knowledge of all teams. And so just like how you only watch the Yankees, that's how I usually only watch the Panthers. Everything else, I just get the highlights. Same thing with these NBA playoffs. The Knicks are probably about to fold up the Celtics as we speak. And so, I'm a Jason Tatum fan. He went down injured. Kudos to the Knicks. They're probably going to get it done. They were up 3-1 anyway. And I hope the Knicks win it all for Mac, if for no other reason. So there's that. But yeah, Dr. Paul, always great to have you on. Tell us how to find you as we get ready to wrap up this last segment here.
Oh, I'm all over. You can find my personal blog. It's drpaulsem.com. And you find my Yankee site. It's startspreadingthenews.blog.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there you go. Now my Yankee site is startspreadingthenews.blog. We put up new articles every single day at 6 a.m., 10 a.m., 2 p.m. And then during the game, there's always a game thread. And after the game, there's what we call the quick hit, where we talk about who won and who lost, etc. So we've had millions and millions of page views. Come to Start Spreading the News and buy my books. They're great. You'll love them.
They are great. And someone just dropped me a comment and said the Celtics are actually winning right now. That's a shock, Dr. Paul. So, I mean, to me at this point, it's like they're delaying the inevitable. Let's be clear. They can win to stay in today, and then it'll be over the next matchup. Dr. Paul, always great to have you on. Know that you have an extended invitation at any time. We're going to rebroadcast this show at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys make sure you check out Dr. Paul. He's everywhere. Like he said, he's not hard to find. Start Spreading the News, all of the shows that he's on, we talked about. And Dr. Paul, we'll see you again next time. We again appreciate you, and have a great night, everybody.
Appreciate you too. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.